Guy's dressed weird. Oh crap. Well, that went easy. A lot easier than I thought it was going to go. It's a great way to start off the stream, don't you think? Yeah, you're not getting a white human. I gotta say, guys, one of the most awkward things for me when it comes to like editing my videos is doing the intro when I'm the one that has to talk, because I just don't know how to start it. I don't want to sound generic like every other YouTuber out there. At the same time, I don't want to sound like a retard introducing this video like I'm doing right now. But I don't know. It gets me every time. But anyway, guys, it's Eric Honda welcoming you back to my channel with another video. Gaming video for that matter. This one's gonna be about Kingdom Come Deliverance, but before I get started, I'm gonna talk about some changes to my series. This was gonna be another video in my playlist, Coffee Shop Talking Video Games, but as I got thinking about it the past couple weeks, as I'm doing this video, that's a really dumb title, and I need to get rid of that title altogether. So I'm starting with this video, and here on out, the series is being a change to Gamers Debrief, and the more I thought about, the more fitting it was, because it fit the theme of my channel, because of the purpose behind debriefs and the military, lore behind it. Not really lore, but the ties to it, and I figured it just fit perfectly, since I'll be talking about the video game, the developers, or something that is related to the video game, and critiquing it, and that's what happens in debriefs, so you can better plan them for the future. Granted, whether the developers or whoever I'm talking about in the game and these videos are listening, and whether they use it to critique their material or games or whatever for the future, that's going to be up to them. But at least it gives us more things to think about, whether we want to buy or move on with our love of a certain franchise or game or anything like that. But anyway, enough about that. We're going to get into Kingdom Come Deliverance. And I got to say, I bought this game on a whim to support a company that was being harassed because of their decisions to be historically accurate, because they decided not to have black people in this game. People thought it was because the people who developed this game are racist, when it all boils down to, historically, it did not make sense to have black people in this region. And the region I'm talking about, this is actually taking place in Bohemia during the Holy Roman Empire. And the developers wanted this opportunity to basically bring a history of a country that is very little known to some parts of the world, especially in the United States, because it makes very prevalent the reaction to the people who were complaining about this game to the developers and trying to roast the developers for the decisions they made. Even though the developers, they are from this country, they have grown up in this country, they have obviously studied the country in some form, one way or another, much like we just have studied American history in our schooling years, whether it's high school or college or whatever. They have as well, and they probably studied their history better than we do. The way we study our history is a joke, and it's kind of sad how little our own people know about our own country's history. But we'll save that rant for another day. So yeah, like I said, they grew up here. They've grown up learning their nation's history, their country's history and heritage, and then not only that, they hired scholars, historical scholars who studied history, the country's history, and got degrees and certifications saying they're experts in this matter. But apparently our experts, I'm using air quotes even though you can't see it, in the United States, saying they're wrong, and how could they? Now, these historical experts have come out and said that it is not impossible that there were black people in this region, but it's highly unlikely, And because of that, they have decided not to include them in the game because there's no proof to back that up that they were here. So to keep it more genuine, that's what they did. And that a lot of people got butthurt about it. But I'm going on a tangent, and we'll cover that in another video. This video is going to be about the combat, like I said, and as the title suggests. So we'll talk about it. For starters, we'll give you a quick background on the character before we get into the combat, because it's going to explain why you got to be careful what you do in combat. But you play Henry, who's a blacksmith's son. And as those of you who know anything about this time period, blacksmiths are not going to be the greatest swordsmen or archer or anything for that matter when it comes to combat. The extent of their knowledge when it comes to fighting is probably drunken bar fights. That's probably going to be the extent of it, and that's the case with Henry. The most of his fighting experience is fighting some people when he got drunk and they got mad at each other in fist fight. And you get into a couple of fist fights before the story really kicks off in this game. But then it's not long after that. And again, spoilers. If you don't want to hear spoilers, stop this video and don't watch any more of the series. If you're here to actually just learn more about the game and see if you want to buy it and play it, then go ahead and stick around. But all right, you've been warned about the spoilers, so here we go. Henry's village gets raided, and it's actually a historical battle that actually took place. The only thing that's not historically accurate about it is Henry and some of the supporting characters, like his family. I highly doubt his girlfriend at the time was in the game, or actually part of history, but I could be wrong. I'm not a historical expert, and I'm not going to pretend to be. But the lord of the town, Lord Ratzig, or Sir Ratzig, is historically accurate, and the battle his men fought there, the siege of, I think it's Skalitz. I will annotate that in case I'm wrong, but I believe it was Skalitz that you get attacked in. Did happen, and the purpose behind it did happen as well. But again, I'll cover that in the history set episode, or part of the series. So you do get thrown quickly into sword combat. I highly recommend not fighting. You're supposed to run. The game encourages you to run, and you should run because you're not going to win. For one, you're greatly outnumbered. And two, you have no skill set as the player in the game because you don't know how the combat mechanics work. And two, because your character also has no skill in combat, and it's going to be very obvious as you try to run away from these guys. So that's going to be one of the most important things when it comes to combat in this game. And I know a lot of you aren't going to like it, especially if you're used to games like Skyrim, where you can basically, if you're in a certain region, you know you can basically kill everything in that region because that region is tailored to your level. And then once you get higher level, you go to another area and so on and so forth. Well, this is not the case in this game. This whole area is a mix of skill sets and abilities, and you got to pick and choose who you know you're ready to fight. So you got to learn when to fight. So if you're looking for constant combat and not having to run away all the time, then you're not going to like this game. But unless you're like me, who got wrapped up in the story and the beautiful graphics in this game and the music, then you're going to love it. But in the beginning, you're going to spend most of your time running from fights. You're not going to want to fight. Even if you have a sword and some armor, you're not going to want to fight. But that's going to get better as you level up your character and as you get used to the swordplay mechanics of this game. And learning how to read the guy you're trying to fight and what you need to do to better prepare for him. Some guys you want to be stealth-like and kill him by assassinating him or knocking him unconscious and then killing him after that. Some guys you're going to want to kill by using a longsword because you just need that extra reach. Other guys you want to kill with a short sword because you want to do more stabbing, which is probably more ideal for short or light armored people. Like in this fight, I'm using a short sword or one more for piercing than slashing, and it took me a lot longer than it should have to fight this guy because he's very heavily armored, and poking armor takes time to break through. And that's another thing we'll cover is the armor. And then you might want to use a warhammer or mace, which is better for heavily armored people so you can break their armor faster and then eventually deal damage to them. And it's the same thing with your bow. You get different arrows for different reasons. You're going to know which arrow to use for which people. Piercing arrows are obviously going to be better for hitting armored targets. Long-range arrows are not going to be great against armored targets, but they'll be great for picking off light armored targets at a distance. So, I mean, a lot of common sense obviously plays into the game, but you can't just rush into a fight with what you have and expect to win every time, or to at least beat him. You may be able to win, but it's going to take a lot longer than it should have. Like I said, in this fight, I should have beat this guy a lot sooner, but I did not have the right equipment for it. And you can change your equipment during the fight. I've verified that. Yeah, as you can see at the top of the screen, there are 2 yellow swords crossing each other, and that means you're in combat. So when that happens, the only thing you cannot do right now is drink potions, which we'll get into those later as well, and they'll help you basically fight and heal and all that stuff. You have to be out of combat before you can do that. But you can change out your loadout. Like if you need a different weapon, like I should have used my warhammer on this guy, and I probably would have killed him a lot faster because I would have broken his armor. Or at least used it till I broke his armor and then used my sword to finish him off. So you can do that in this stage of the fight. In order to drink the potions, you have to at least run away and hide for a little bit until at least the swords are silver. And once they turn silver, then you can eat, drink, and do whatever else you need to do. Another thing to remember about the combat is you got to make sure your different weapons are leveled up. Like I'm highly leveled in long swords. So they're pretty easy for me to use. That short sword I was using, I think it has its own separate category. I could be wrong, and I'm not very high level in short swords. When it comes to hammers and maces, I have no level in them at all. So if I try to use it against that guy, it still probably would have taken me a really long time because I have no skill level in that. So which means if you're gonna want to be well diverse in different weapons, then you're going to need to do what I'm probably going to do in my next video or stream, is run around with one of the weapons I'm low level in and just pick on some, low level, or not really low level, but under armed and armored characters, so I can know that I'm not going to get killed trying to fight them, but at the same time level up my weapon and get that up to a higher level, because eventually I'm going to come to a fight where I can't just use a sword and hack and slash. I'm going to need that hammer, and having a low skill level is going to bite me in the butt in the long run. So that's something we'll need to work on as well. Now another point to combat would be archery. And some of you might want to be like the Legolases of Bohemia, but that's not going to happen because the guys don't just sit there and let you shoot them. Eventually, you might get 1 or 2 arrows in, and then they're going to run up at you. They're not stupid. They're not going to just sit there and get hit by arrows, or if you're hiding in a bush, at least that I could tell. Maybe if you get your sneaking up, it might be a different story, but my sneaking isn't very high. Eventually, they're going to run right at you, and they're going to attack you, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Now, a perfect example of learning when to fight, when not to fight, is this clip right here. As you can see, I came up into a random encounter on the road, and I thought it was guards fighting humans, but if they are guards, I either pissed them off somehow, or these were bandits the whole time, and now I went from fighting just the humans to fighting these guards are humans. Or bandits. I'm still having a hard time determining who is who. I need to get used to reading their armor, which is also going to be very important. Learning how to read their armor and their emblems to know who they are, and if they're guards, if they're bandits, if they're civilians, if they're humans. I mean, the humans are pretty easy. They have very Asian influences on their armor. Every now and then I'll run into one that looks kind of like a everyday person, but most of the time they look completely different, and when a human, and the humans are, for the most part, depending on the loadout and how many there are, I don't fight that often because so far they've been the hardest for me to fight. Guards are actually really hard to fight, but I don't want to intentionally fight them anyway. So that's, as you can see here, I quickly realized when I pissed off that other guy and how many other guys were still alive, I was not going to win that fight. And if I didn't have anybody help me fight in that fight, then it was better for me to just run away, as I did here. So, and that may be frustrating to some of you. Some of you will be like, oh, well, if I'm in a fight, I want to stay in that fight till I beat everybody. Well, then again, this game is not for you, because you're not going to be able to just fight them and hope to win. You're going to have to learn when to fight, when not to fight. Like I said, you're going to know your own ability and knowing how to use the combat mechanics in this game. and you also know the skill level of your character and whatever gear you have set up right now, because if you just run in there, you're going to get yourself killed. Now, this would be a good point to talk about the potions. As you see, I'm looking at some Marigold and some Lazarus potion, and you saw some Aqua Vitalis in there. They all have their different abilities. The Marigold, again, I can't remember everything off the top of my head, but the Marigold will heal you over time, and it has some other attributes to it, but I mainly use it for healing when I'm not in combat. Then you have the Lazarus potion, which, again, additional abilities or attributes are provided when you drink it, but it also provides health over time during combat, and it lasts for 5 minutes. And the Aqua Vitalis is supposed to increase your combat ability, so you fight harder and hit harder, so you can kill your enemy quicker, and that also lasts for 5 minutes. You can either make them or buy them. Right now I'm buying them because I don't know how to make them yet. Now, here's another example of knowing your opponent. Right up against a drunken bandit on the side of the road, you can see he's wearing no armor at all and just had a butcher's knife or sword as a fighting weapon. And I was like, you know what, I can take him out easy. And as you saw, I did. I even threw one punch in there and kind of back up and stared at him for a little bit, and eventually just took like 3 or 4 swings and he died. So it's going to be all about reading your opponent and whether or not you can fight him and how quickly you can fight him. And I highly suggest looting him because every little bit of loot counts. I'm at the point, if it's under 100 Gershon, which is the historical currency at the time, I don't pick it up because you do have a weight restriction. As you can see here, I'm over encumbered. Your horse can carry some too. It can actually carry a lot more than you. And obviously, as you level up, you can put points of strength to carry more if you want to, or if you want to put in another attribute you're lacking. Strength obviously also helps you with your fighting, so you hit harder, and you're more likely to break through armor or injure an individual. And you can individual arms, and you can also injure arms. You can injure legs. You can injure their head. You can cause them to bleed. So, if you are not hitting hard enough and killing them fast enough, you can make them bleed to death. And then you can especially sometimes they'll run away from you, and you can try to chase them down, kill them, or wait till they bleed to death if you know you made them bleed. Another point to the combat, as you can see right here, is that everything does take damage. Your armor, your weapon, and you see me getting ready to repair one of my swords. And this is one of the many ways you can repair swords. At least there's only 2 ways that I know you can repair armor, but swords. And as you see, this one's bloody. You can see all the chips and dings in the blade. And they did a really good job with attention to detail in this game, and I wish my computer could handle the graphics. I got the 4K pack, but I can't use it right now. So, but you can use a grinding wheel, and the grinding wheel is all about the angle of the sword. You see the black smoke, that means I'm doing bad. If you see sparks, it means I'm doing the repair well. It's all about how much pressure you're playing on the sword, how fast you're spinning the wheel, that you slide it side to side. You have to worry about your stamina, which you also have to worry about in combat. When you run out of stamina, you risk passing out. You can also, your hits get weaker, and you're less likely to block attacks. So you want to make sure you keep an eye on your stamina and not running that low. And there's some attacks you can do to drain the enemy's stamina, as they can do the same to you. If they hit you hard and push you back, your stamina drops quite a bit. And so you got to keep all that in mind when you're fighting. The other ways to repair your armor and swords is repair kits. I'm trying to get my skills up in repair, or what's called maintenance, so I can repair things on my own. It's going to be a lot cheaper than going to an armor or a blacksmith or a swordsmith to repair my stuff, or a cobbler or a tailor. And we'll get more into that in the next video. And this one, again, is all about combat. So obviously you want your armor and weapons up to repair it. The more damage they are, the less likely they're to help you in combat. What's something else we could talk about? We talked about how encounters aren't that often. You can either find encounters like you saw a couple times randomly on the road throughout the time of the day. It used to be encounters happen very rarely, but after an update, they seem to be happening more often. I don't know if it's just because I progressed far enough in the story for that to happen, or they made it so you did run into encounters more, so it's more entertaining for players who like to fight more. Or you can do like what you're gonna see in this clip. You see me like getting my loadout ready because I know I've actually fought these guys. I think this is my third time and died twice, so I'm going in for them again. You can find a bandit camp like this one and clear out the camp, and they usually got pretty good loot on them themselves and loot in their pretty good loot in the camp once you cleared it out. Or but with the random encounters, and even with the bandit camps, you got to be careful what time of the day it is. The random encounters mainly happening in the early morning and late at night, because bandits aren't going to be out in the middle of the day wanting to fight, because they know soldiers and guards will be patrolling and they don't want to deal with them. I mean, it doesn't mean you'll never run into anybody during the daytime. It's just less likely. Bandit camps, again, depending on the time of the day you go, they may not be at their campsite. You might have to come back later to clear out the campsite, or they may be there the whole time. It depends. It all depends. As you can see in this particular fight, I'm dealing with 3 of them, and I was waiting for this video to come up because this one of the most frustrating parts of this fight is the lock on in this game. As you see, even though there's 2 guys in front of me right here, I'm locked onto the one in the back. And I'm trying to move towards the guy close to me, especially this guy, because he's lighter armored, so I wanted to kill him faster to give me even the odds a little bit more. But it took me forever to lock onto him. No matter how I moved the mouse, I was always locked onto the guy in the back. Now, you can hit tab to switch between the characters, so my complaints about the targeting in this game or the locking on, maybe because of my lack of ability to know how to switch targets. But when you're locked onto these guys, you can see it's really hard to see what the guys behind you or beside you are doing because you're really focused, especially if you're wearing a closed helmet like I was in the beginning of this video, where I had 2 very small eye sockets. So I can't really, my peripheral vision is very limited, so it made it really hard to focus on the guys around me. And like I said earlier about armor too, you see these guys have hit me a lot, but my armor has not dropped, or my health hasn't dropped yet. I mean, it has a lot to do with the potions I drank. One Lazarus potions. I'm climbing a bush here. That really frustrated me, but in hindsight, it's kind of funny. The Lazarus potion is healing me over time, but even with the healing over time, they can still knock your health down, and they do eventually. But the armor is preventing them from doing it immediately. And another issue I'm having, I'm still using that short sword with the pointing. It does more damage, but not against heavily armored targets. I should have been using a hammer here, and at least until I killed that guy right there. He and the guy behind him are both heavily armored. Yeah, I'm climbing the bush again. But the lock-on is frustrating to me, and it's probably just me. I'm not doing it right. It's there for a purpose, though, so you can do, as you can see, there's a star figure. The straight up is for hitting the head and neck area. The left and right is for hitting arm and upper torso, and the 2 points pointing straight down is for legs and lower torso. Then you got a dot in the middle. That's for when you're just stabbing, and you're basically going to try to stab him in the chest or in the head. If you get him in the head, you can potentially blind him. And then every now and then you'll get a green shield pop up, and when that green shield gets super bright, that's when you know to block. And then if you get a perfect block, you can kind of disorient them a little bit, and that will allow you to get some swings in there. But as you can see, I'm getting my butt kicked in here, and I can't get any swings in here. And eventually, you're going to see me switch to a bow and just try to kite these guys and shoot them as much as possible, just so I can get my numbers down. And the sword play isn't working well for me because I'm locked onto these guys, and it's making it really hard for me to focus on different targets. And if I remember correctly, to tab, like I'm doing right now, I finally figured out that I need to tab. You have to click down in the middle in the mouse wheel, and you get that circle around the star-looking thing, and that's when you can tab between targets. That's mean you're truly locked on. The other time, I guess, is like a semi-lock, but it still makes you focus on a main character like that. See, and I'm having to hit tab and know when guys are rushing me. So I'm doing a little better at blocking, but at this point, I'm getting frustrated because the fight's going on too long. And as you can see, I have a shield, and you hit the Q button for blocking, and that's when, like I said, when you see the green shield light up, you want to try to block with it. Sometimes the shield doesn't light up, but they're still swinging, so you can hit Q to block anyway. Most of the time, it's better, though, when there is no shield symbol, and I'm bad at doing this, is you can hit the space bar to dodge their swings, and I needed to work on that, too. I hardly ever hit the space bar when I'm fighting. And like I said, here I should have switched up my weapons. You're going to see me near the end of this clip actually try to switch my weapons. My melee weapons, I was trying to do the hammer, but I accidentally dropped the hammer, and I end up just saying screw it. And yeah, see, right now I'm pulling out the bow, but this isn't where I dropped the hammer. And I end up killing 2 of these guys before I dropped the hammer. So you see me like running away and kiting them and shooting with the bow and running away, shooting with the bow, run away, shooting the bow. And if I remember, and actually at this point I think I'm trying to run to turn those swords silver so I can drink some potions because my health is at half. And as your health lowers, your amount of stamina you can have lowers. So there's the Aqua Vitalis that's going to help me with combat. And then I got the Lazarus potion, which is going to heal me over time. And like I said, you could only do that when the swords turn silver. If they were gold like they are now, or yellow, whatever you want to call it, I wouldn't be able to drink, but I could still change my weapons and armor. And obviously that guy with the shield, you can't aim straight at him because he's gonna block the bow with the shield. See, like there, I hit the shield with the arrow. Near the end of the video, you can see me like targeting his legs. This is the only time you don't lock on to guys is when you're using your bow. If you want to kill him, you gotta aim yourself and know when to aim and know which arrows. I'm using, I think, the better piercing arrow right now. So the combat can be intense and frustrating, especially with me. You do have combos you can learn as you level up. Any fighting game that requires combos, I'm absolutely horrible at it. So you don't see me use combos. I'm basically frantically swinging, hoping to get in there. I tried doing jabs more because that seemed to be more effective for me because when I swing, they either dodge or block it easier. Like he dodged that. See, I got a perfect block right there, and I just got hit because even though I blocked this guy, the guy behind me hit me. So, which is why I keep going back to the bow to kill these guys. I killed one of them. The guy with the shield is the heavily armored of the two, and it's definitely, see, he has a hammer, and I should have been using my hammer against him. But I'm learning as I go. Like I said, I'm still very early in the game, and I got to get better at it. This looks very sloppy and horrible. I'm doing this more to show you all the aspects of the combat, even though it's probably really painful to watch seeing me get my butt kicked like crazy. This is where I dropped the hammer. No, I ran out of arrows. I'm getting arrows. See, I'm in the middle of the combat, but I was still able to get arrows off my horse. I know that doesn't make sense, especially for something that's supposed to be realistic and historically accurate, but you know what? They know that they need to keep the player entertained. If the player's constantly get his butt kicked and he can't do anything about it. And as you see, even though that guy surrendered, now he's running away because I shot him with the arrow. And even if I didn't shoot him, he'd eventually run off because he's going to take it as you let him go. So I ignored the guy behind me because I was so irritated and determined to get my loot. I was going to kill this guy any way I can. I mean, that was a horrible bow shot. I'm actually just getting desperate at this point. But the fight's drawing to an end. I basically chase this guy down and kill him. And then I focus on this guy, and that's where you're going to see me drop the hammer. But yeah, so you get different attributes that help you with weapons. So you get different combat skills. You can even have skills that increase your stamina and health. You know, it's like any other typical RPG. And the bodies unfortunately disappear pretty quick. The first guy I killed, I go back for him and I can't find him, and I wasn't able to get the gear, which upset me. Yeah, see, that's where I dropped this hammer, and you see me try to pick up the hammer, and I can't. Because I'm being attacked. I mean, you can do it, but I was panicking too much. I kept messing it up. But and one of the things I talked about combos earlier, if you keep repeating the same swings over and over again, you're never going to get a hit in because these guys are like, okay, so you're going to keep swinging at my left side, whether it's lower or upper, so I'm going to dodge and block every single time. So that's where combos are going to come in better. I try to rely on my perfect blocks more often. I actually didn't block that guy. He just missed me altogether. You can rush in close, and you see me do it a couple times. We will lock our weapons together, and if you don't hit your swing button fast enough, he'll push you back and come in for a swing. If you hit it fast enough, you'll push him back, and you can go either run away or go in for a swing. That'll be up to you what you're trying to accomplish. See, I end up giving up because I didn't realize the short sword's not going to do anything against this guy. So aiming for his leg because I knew he had his shield up. So basically, this is how the combat works, guys. So, and I think this is where I'm going to end it. You're going to see me beat this guy, and we'll move on to other things. But the combat in this is pretty complex, and maybe I'm making it more difficult than it needs to be. And if I am, let me know in the comments and below. I definitely need to learn. I know combos would be my friend, but I'm not good at combos. I panic too much. So, but that's enough about this video. The next video is going to do more into the different skills and abilities you have and side missions and different activities the game has you to do. In fact, they just had an update include tournaments. So that would be another way to practice your combat skills. You can also get training from different people like soldiers and archers and stuff. So I can get more into the training for your different skill sets and abilities in the next video too, since this one's running kind of long. But I hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like and a comment down below if you did. If you did not like it, please leave a thumbs down. And please, if you're going to leave me a thumbs down, at least have the courage and the balls to tell me why you don't like this video, so I can have my material critiqued and have better content created for you guys. So this not only betters me as a content creator, but it betters things for you guys as the viewers to be more entertaining. But alright guys, until the next one, I'll catch you all later. Let me know what you think of the new name for the series, and I hope you all have a good day.